Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bound by Grace podcast. I'm Amber Hunt. Today, I wanted to talk about some of the love languages. Today, we're going to talk about acts of service. So, I think that acts of service is more biblically related than most of them. Not that none of them are, but just it really grounds in how God asks us to love when you are someone that requires active service and when you're the person that is giving acts of service. And what I mean by that is I have here Galatians 5:13, through love serve one another. So he really calls us to serve one another, but if you're a person that's giving acts of service and that's the way you're showing love, to your spouse because that's their love language, you're truly mirroring what God has asked us to do, what God gives us. He gives us love with grace. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. So we're going to go through multiple acts of services that you can do for your marriage that maybe you haven't thought of. So one of them is you can prepare their favorite meal. I know that for me, acts of service is my love language or one of them. And when my husband prepares my meal, it automatically makes me feel more loved and taken care of. You can take over a dreaded chore. Now, this is pretty important because you don't wait for them to ask you to take over the chore, even though that still feels good. It's when you do it without us having to ask that we feel loved, that we feel most seen and most taken care of. Another one is write a heartfelt note. This may seem a little funny because it may dive in more with like words of affirmation, but taking the time to write that note is an act of service in our eyes. It makes us feel loved. It makes us feel thought of. And I think that that's why it's such a beautiful act to do. The other one is plan a restful evening. I know with myself, I am a mom of five, and most of our listeners probably do have children. And even if you don't, and let's say your spouse works or just takes care of the home most days, um, it is a huge deal for your spouse to take the initiative to plan. That doesn't mean just plan a restful evening, but plan a date without asking me for details or what I want to do. It takes such a load off my plate and makes it where I feel taken care of, which is mainly what we like as people that enjoy acts of service. It makes us feel loved and taken care of. Wake up early and pray over them. This is a really big one. So there was a quote that was really beautiful, and it stated, imagine someone loving you so much that they talk to God about you. Just think on that for a second. You may not feel comfortable praying over your spouse. You may not feel comfortable praying out loud, but I have to say that praying over your spouse, breathing life into your spouse is the most beautiful and loving thing of an act that you can do. So even if it were you needed to write down your prayer prior to doing this, it would make your spouse feel so loved. Handle an errand. So this can be as simple as calling the electric company to pay the bill. Simple things like that, just handling an errand can be a big help. Surprise them with a clean car. So this is one that I really enjoy, that I've told my husband about. It's not just cleaning my car, but simply filling the gas tank makes me think that I'm being taken care of because he thinks I want to ensure that she has gas and she doesn't have to stop, or that she has gas and doesn't run off the road with no gas. Like these little steps, these little acts of service truly make your spouse feel loved. Create a playlist that reminds you of your love story. This would be just a romantic way of showing your spouse that you care for them. You can pick out songs that remind you of them. You can pick out songs that might be a little funny. That I know there's songs out there that talk about the spouses kind of bickering back and forth. If it reminds you of both of you and it's kind of funny, you can add that to it. But something to do with your love story. And in doing so, you also make it where your spouse thinks about you while they're listening to the songs. So it's a way of drawing closer to one another, and it's purposeful. Organize a space they use often. I know I use my desk quite often. If my husband were to come in, and it's in the laundry room, if my husband were to come in and take the time to be just mindful and see that this is my space and this is where I spend my most time and clean this up, that would be such a huge deal to me. And I'm sure that your spouse would feel the same. So if he or she uses the living room most often, or if you see that they like to take baths, I know a lot of women like to take baths. You could simply go and get them bubble baths. You can get them different kind of additives for the bath. You can get them something to sit on the bathtub so they can set their soaps and their drink and things like that on it, and make it a nice space for them. It always helps our minds feel calmer when our space is clean. Ask, what can I take off your plate today? That simple initiative to ask without being prompted is an act of service. And it does make us feel loved. It makes us feel thought of. It makes us feel cared for. You can make them a simple cup of coffee. An example is my husband ended up going to work, and he went to go get breakfast and his normal spot was closed. So he went to the main PX to go get Starbucks. Well, we live about 5 minutes away from Starbucks that he'd have to pass on his way back home. And he showed up back at the house unexpectedly and gave me a cup of coffee. He thought of me because he was in the place that he knew that I enjoyed. That simple act of service, I mean, it does something for me. It makes me love him so much more and appreciate him as a man so much more. You can pack their lunch. I know a girlfriend of mine is constantly telling me that her spouse or boyfriend packs her lunch. He'll get up a little earlier than her. He'll make her a cup of coffee and he will make her breakfast and pack her lunch. How beautiful is that? That's love in action. So these small things you can do for your spouse as acts of service, and they are very important if that's their love language, to explore what you can do to fill their cup. You never want their cup to be empty. And in turn, having a loving spouse, they will do the same for you. But you don't do this with the expectation of that. It just happens naturally, especially us with acts of service. If that's how we're getting our cup filled, we really like to return the favor because we want to make sure that our spouse feels appreciated just as they made us feel loved and appreciated. I hope this was helpful for all of you. I'm going to do a couple more on the other acts of love and the love languages, specifics on what you can do to fill your spouse's cup. All right, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day.